You don't realize how far underground you are until the elevator stops and there's no number on the display. On paper, I'm head of security for Cade Technologies' remote R&D facility. In reality, I work for a genius tech billionaire who dug himself a private kingdom into the side of a mountain and filled it with enough steel, servers, and canned food to ride out 3 apocalypses. My name's Daniel Cole. I've done security for embassies, casinos, a couple of defense contractors, and one very corrupt televangelist. I've seen rich men who thought they were gods. Until I met Adrian Cade, I'd never met one who wanted to be honest about the devil part. But that comes later. Most nights, my job looks boring on paper. That's the point. If security looks exciting, something already went wrong. 20. WAS. Shift start. Level 0 checkpoint. The surface gate of the bunker is disguised as a private airstrip and warehouse compound about 2 hours from the nearest city. Cameras, drones, motion sensors, the usual toys. All that's my outer ring. The real work begins once you badge through the steel doors and the mountain swallows you. Evening, Chief. Morgan, one of my guards, passes me the tablet with the day's incident log. He's young, ex-army, good eyes, still believes in promotions. Poor bastard. Talk to me, I say. Perimeter clean, he says. We had a journalist drone try to peek over the fence at 1600. We fried it. Supply convoy came in on schedule. Medical logged a minor accident on level 2, employee versus forklift, no foul play. That's it. No VIP visits? He shakes his head. No, sir, not unless they came through walls. Nothing comes through the walls, I say. That's why we like walls. He grins, hands me an access card to sign off. The card isn't strictly necessary. The system knows my biometrics better than my doctor does, but I make everyone keep the rituals. Rituals keep people from doing stupid things because the computer will catch it. I badge in, palm, retina, code. The elevator doors close. Classical music plays softly over hidden speakers. One of Cade's touches. He says it calms people. Personally, it makes me feel like I'm about to be told the plane is experiencing light turbulence. The car sinks past the public levels, 1 through 4, R&D, living quarters for staff, gym, kitchen. I ride down to 5, security operations. The doors open on my kingdom, rows of monitors, a small team on night shift, coffee that tastes like burnt cardboard and stress. Chief on deck, someone calls. At ease, I say automatically. I'm not military anymore, but the habit sticks. I walk the room once, scanning the feeds. Corridors, labs, server rooms, dorms. The bunker is a ring-stacked maze, concrete and steel, all right angles and controlled lines. It's the kind of place you could get lost in if the lights went out. We make sure they don't. Cade online? I ask. Last ping from his suite 30 minutes ago, says Tessa, my second in command. Calendar says he's in private work block till 2200, as usual. As usual, I echo. Most billionaires with bunkers like to show them off. They drag in celebrities and politicians, pour drinks on polished concrete, brag about air filtration. Cade is different. He built all this, then locked himself at the very bottom and prefers to see the world through screens. People call him reclusive. I call him smart. We run through the standard checks. Doors locked, badges reconciled, cameras cycling properly, sensors green. By 2100, the facility is as quiet as it ever gets. Faint mechanical hum, occasional footsteps in corridors, someone laughing in the staff lounge on level 3. Think he's actually down there? Tessa asks, nodding at the feed labeled L10, Access, Executive. The camera shows a heavy vault door at the end of a short hallway. No movement, no sound. If he left, I'd know, I say. There are only 3 ways in or out of level 10, and 2 of them go through me. What's the third? She asks. Helicopter pad above the bunker, I lie. She snorts. Right, because the man who invented half the encryption the world uses is going to trust a helicopter. Go get some coffee, I say. You're starting to think. She grins and goes. It's right after she leaves that my tablet buzzes with a notification that doesn't come through any of my usual channels. Private. From A. Cade. Daniel, join me for dinner. 22, level 10. Use your personal clearance. AK, no subject line, no emojis, no context. Cade just invited me to dinner, I say out loud, before I can stop myself. Tessa, halfway to the coffee machine, turns. Like, up here? Down there, I say, tapping the L10 feed. Her eyes widen. You piss him off? Not today, I say. You see any red flags in the last 24? No more than usual, she says. Why? Because reclusive billionaires don't call the head of security down for a steak unless something's wrong, or they're bored, or both, I say. Want backup? If I need backup on level 10, it's already too late, I say. She doesn't like that answer, but she knows it's the only honest one. There are parts of this place where more guns don't make you safer, just give whoever's on the other end more toys to play with. At 21:45, I hand Tessa the night and tell her she has full operational control till I'm back. She gives me a look that says, if you're not back by midnight, I'm coming down anyway, and damn the protocols. I don't tell her that if I'm not back by midnight, coming down would just add 1 more name to the body count. I take the elevator alone. Badge, palm, retina. The car hesitates at level 9, then keeps going. There is no button for level 10. Only a key slot most of my team has never seen. I slide in the physical key Cade gave me on my first week. A heavy little thing, old metal, ornate. It's the one part of this job that feels like it belongs in a church instead of a server room. The elevator shudders once, then descends the last few meters. When the doors open, the air is warmer, not the carefully regulated neutral of the upper levels. There's a hint of something, spices, smoke, expensive cologne. The corridor to his private suite is short and simple. Smooth concrete walls, recessed lighting, a single door at the end, no visible cameras, no keypad, just a polished brass handle that looks wildly out of place in a bunker. I knock once out of habit more than necessity. "Come in, Daniel," his voice says from the other side, clear as if he were standing next to me. The door isn't locked. It swings open on a room that could be anywhere but is, factually, buried under goodness knows how many tons of rock. Cade's private dining room isn't huge. Low ceiling, dark wood table, shelves lined with books and things that look suspiciously like old religious artifacts mixed in with modern art. There's a fireplace against one wall with real flames. Above it, a large painting in oils, a city burning, viewed from far above. "Chief Cole," Cade says, standing from the head of the table. "Right on time. I knew you would be." He looks like his photos. Mid-40s maybe, lean, dark hair with a little gray at the temples, eyes too sharp. He's not in a suit tonight, just a black shirt, sleeves rolled to the forearms, no tie. It makes him look more human. I know better than to trust that. "Sir," I say, "you wanted to see me." "I wanted to eat," he says, smiling. "And I'm tired of talking to people who say yes before I finish a sentence. Sit." There are only 2 seats, one at the head, where he was, one to his right, the traditional place of a trusted lieutenant. I sit opposite him instead, because I've learned that saying no in small ways first makes it easier when you have to say it in big ones. He doesn't comment, Just pours wine into 2 glasses from a bottle that probably cost more than my car. Before we get to business, he says, relax. You're off duty in here. No guns at the table, no earpiece, just dinner. I don't drink on shift, I say. You're not on shift, he says. If it makes you feel better, consider this a performance review. Reviews usually come with HR, I say. They don't usually come with Bordeaux. He laughs, genuinely amused. You see why I like you, he says. Everyone else down here either flinches or worships. You still do that thing where you pretend I'm just a man with too much money. I don't pretend you're just anything, sir, I say. Good, he says, because it's time we stopped pretending. Something in the room tightens. The fire doesn't flare. The lights don't dim. Nothing obvious happens. But my neck hairs stand up the way they did in bad streets overseas, right before a door opened and someone with a rifle stepped out. He notices. Of course he does. You feel it, he says softly. That's good. Most don't. That's why they're not here. What exactly am I feeling? I ask. Truth, he says. The part of it you can stand, anyway. He leans back in his chair and studies me, like he's measuring angles I can't see. Tell me something, Daniel, he says. What do you think I am? A very rich man with a paranoia budget I'm paid to respect, I say. He smiles again, but there's less warmth in it now. Honest answer, he says, not the one you give to interviewers. I've seen you on screens and from a distance, I say slowly. I've seen the way people bend around you. I've seen deals happen because you nodded and disasters get hushed, because you frowned. I've watched my cameras freeze for a frame when you walk past like they're looking at something they weren't built for. So, I think you're dangerous. And I think whatever's written on your birth certificate isn't the whole story. There, he says. We're getting somewhere. He tops off his own glass, doesn't touch mine. You grew up in church? He asks, almost casually. Grandmother took me, I say. Bible Belt stuff, hellfire, devils, that whole show. And what did they tell you a demon was? Liar, I say. Tempter, thing that wants your soul. Vague mileage, he says. No specifics, no job description. Convenient for everyone involved. He reaches into his shirt and pulls out something on a chain. A pendant. Old silver. Blackened in the creases, engraved with a symbol I don't recognize. Not a cross. Not any religious icon I've seen on church walls or dog tags. I am not a metaphor, Daniel, he says quietly. I'm not a man who made a deal with a demon or a victim of possession. I'm not a case study for your grandmother's pastor. I am the thing he warned you about, doing very well in a tailored shirt. The words shouldn't land. They should bounce off a lifetime of skepticism and horror movies. Instead, they settle with the heavy, simple click of something obvious finally said out loud. I've spent 5 years in a mountain with sealed doors, strange glitches, and a boss who never flinches at danger, but occasionally looks very, very bored. Prove it, I say. He laughs once, low. Of course, he says. Head of security. Verification first. He holds the pendant between 2 fingers and whispers a word I don't catch. The air in the room goes still. For a moment, all sound dies. No fire crackle, no faint hum of air conditioning, no blood rush in my ears. Just a flat, absolute silence that feels like someone pressed mute on existence. Then his shadow moves the wrong way. It lifts off the floor, peels up the wall behind him, stretches, the proportions not quite human. For a second, it looks like a man with something coiled around him. Horns, maybe, wings, or just tricks of cheap horror stories. Then it snaps back into place like a rubber band. The room breathes again. So do I. That enough? he asks. His eyes are exactly the same color as before, but now I understand why they made me uneasy from his first hiring video. There's a depth in them that has nothing to do with metaphor. Not bad, I say, because my mouth doesn't know when to shut up. Seen worse CGI, he grins, sharp. We'll get past deflection later, he says. For now, accept this. I am what humans have called demon for a very long time. I've been on this earth in this flesh longer than your country has existed. I learned your languages when they were still arguing about whether the sun went around you. And I am bored, Daniel. Bored enough to call your security chief down for dinner, I say. Bored enough, he says, leaning forward, to tell him what I'm going to do and what I need from him to do it. He raises his glass in a small toast. To honesty, he says. You won't like all of it, but you'll appreciate not being lied to. I don't drink. I don't run. I sit there in a billionaire's underground dining room, a mile of rock above my head, a real devil across the table, and realize something very simple and very ugly. This is still my post, head of security, and the thing I'm being asked to protect the world from is the same thing that signs my paycheck. Honesty looks different coming from a demon. When a human tells you, I'll be straight with you, they're usually about to sell you something. When Adrian said it, the room itself seemed to lean in, waiting to hear how much truth he was willing to let slip. You wanted proof, he says. You have it. Now you get context. I'm listening, I say. He sets the pendant down beside his plate, careful, like it's hot. Maybe it is. First, forget the cartoon version, he says. No pitchforks, no lake of fire, no little red imps whispering at children. Hell is not a cave under your feet. It's a realm. Call it a kingdom, a layer, a domain, stacked alongside this one. Old, ordered, very political. We're not chaos. We are structure without mercy. And you came here on vacation, I ask. He smiles. In a way, your world is entertaining, loud, messy, fast. Ours is not. For ages, higher castes were content to nudge you through dreams, cults, the occasional miracle gone wrong, influence without fingerprints. But I always thought, why settle for rumors when you can walk the floor yourself? He picks up his knife again, as if he hasn't just dropped that into the conversation. There are rules, he continues, eternal non-intervention pacts, non-incursion treaties, very solemn, very pompous. We do not step onto their soil in the flesh. They do not breach ours without escort, and so on. Good for cosmic politics, bad for curiosity. So you broke the rules, I say. I bent them, he says. I found a way through technicalities. Think of it as exploiting a loophole in very old bureaucracy. I didn't storm the gates. I slipped a part of myself into the cracks, into one ambitious, brilliant little human obsessed with code and money and control. Adrian Cade, I say. The original, he nods. He was mine long before he knew my name. He wanted fortune, influence, a castle no one could touch. I wanted a body and a company. We were aligned. One contract later, you have your genius billionaire. I have a face and a legal department. What did he pay? I ask. What everyone pays, he says. He thought he was paying years. It turned out he paid himself. When the merge finished, there wasn't enough of old Adrian left to separate. Don't look at me like that, Daniel. He signed. He smiled when he did it. He says it the way a lawyer talks about a client who read the fine print and jumped anyway. And now, I ask, you've been here, what, decades? Long enough, he says. Long enough to get bored watching humanity circle the same drains. Long enough to build this place. Long enough to start my project. The bunker, I say. The bunker, he echoes. That's what everyone thinks it is. A vault, a shelter, a hole to hide in when your species finally cashes all the checks it's been writing. And yes, it will do that job nicely if the world falls apart on schedule. Plenty of food, plenty of power, plenty of filters. But all that is window dressing. He taps the table once, and I feel a faint vibration in the floor. This mountain, he says, sits on a fault line, not just geological. There are thin spots between realms, Daniel. Places where the barrier between my domain and yours is brittle. Most of the time, they leak nightmares and half-seen things in forests. This one is clean, strong, untouched, perfect for construction. Construction of what? He spreads his hands. A door. The word sits between us with the weight of a skull on a desk. You have enough doors, I say. You've got them everywhere in folklore. Mirrors, crossroads, Ouija boards, haunted basements. Why build another? Because those are cracks, he says. Drafty, unreliable, one way most of the time. Little leaks your species misinterprets as hauntings and visions. I'm building something else. A stable, controlled gateway. An opening we choose, we supervise, we can shut. And then what? I ask. Then, he says, we stop pretending. He looks almost excited for the first time since I've worked for him. The boredom drops, and something bright and cruel takes its place. Imagine it, he says. No more sermons based on guesswork. No more skeptics laughing at things they've never seen. I open that door, step through with cameras rolling, and the world watches a devil walk out of the dark and shake hands with their favorite billionaire. You think anyone's going to say, that's just a story, after that? Yeah, I say. They'll say deep fake and keep scrolling. He laughs. At first, he concedes, but repetition breaks denial. You know this. You've seen people ignore warnings until the danger is physically in their living room, then suddenly become experts. I don't need universal belief overnight. I need a critical mass of witnesses and opportunists, politicians, generals, priests, the ones who understand what an open door really means. Chaos, I say. Power, he corrects. Chaos is for amateurs. I want contracts, deals in the open, no more hiding in corners. Yes, demons exist. Yes, we have terms. Yes, we can make your enemies suffer, your followers obedient, your voters loyal. Sign here. And what does hell get? A better return, he says simply. Why spend centuries nudging 10,000 little cults when I can put one properly managed pipeline in the middle of your civilization and let you line up yourselves? He leans back, steeples his fingers. You've kept people out of bad rooms your whole life, Daniel, he says. You know how they are about forbidden doors. Put up a sign that says, do not enter, and they'll camp outside it. Put up a door that says, enter at your own risk, and they'll break it down. You realize, I say, that everything you're describing sounds like the part of the movie where the audience starts yelling, don't do it. Of course, he says. They yell that at the screen. Then they go home and click on whatever link says, see what they don't want you to know. Your species is consistent. He picks up his glass, watches the wine catch the light. But that's the vision, he says. Door open, truth revealed. No more cozy ignorance, and all of it built, funded, and shielded by a very human-looking company in a very human-built bunker. Elegant, no? Except for one thing, I say. You said you're dying. His mouth twists. Dying is dramatic, he says. This body is expiring. Interfaces like this are temporary. There's only so long a human frame can carry something like me before it starts to fail. Your doctors would call it organ strain, immune collapse, neural overload. I call it times bill. How long? 3 days, he says. 4. If I'm willing to lose, fine, motor control at the end. Not great for a man who signs a lot of things. And when the body goes? My presence is pulled back, he says. The contract ends. Adrian Cade's heart stops. The bunker goes into whatever succession plan my lawyers cooked up to keep the board from panicking. The door project stalls. And everything we've done here becomes another rumor, another half-finished legend. And your superiors? I ask. The ones who wrote the no-door policy. They'll be informed, he says shortly. Eventually. We don't have the same sense of time. To them, my decades here are a weekend fling. But when they bother to look, they won't be pleased. And you don't care, I say. Oh, I care, he says. I have no desire to spend the next few millennia being used as a cautionary tale in management lectures, which is why I need continuity. There it is again, that word. You want another body, I say. I want another interface, he corrects. Another human to carry the work forward. It doesn't have to be me in the same way. It can be partnership, shared space, hybrid control. And you picked me, I say. Yes. Why? He looks almost offended. Who else? He says. You know this place better than anyone. You understand its protocols, its blind spots. You see threats coming from both above and below. Employees, intruders, investors, engineers. You've watched me long enough to know I'm not omnipotent, and you're not stupid enough to think you can beat me. That makes you valuable. Flattered, I say dryly. Still not sold. I'm not pitching a timeshare, Daniel, he says. I'm offering you a seat at the table when the world changes. You get power, real power. Not the kind that comes from a badge, the kind that comes from hearing prayers you weren't meant to hear, from seeing where the hooks go in, from deciding sometimes not to set them. And the cost, I ask? Aside from fun side effects like my soul, he rolls his eyes. Souls are bookkeeping, he says. We can argue theology later. The real cost is simpler. You stop being alone in here. He taps his temple. You'll have me as a roommate. We'll share thoughts, impulses, memories. I'll steer when needed. You'll steer when you can. Sometimes you won't know whose finger is really on the wheel. That sounds like hell, I say. You get used to it, he says. Or you break. But you're not a breaker, Daniel. You bend. Silence stretches. The fireplace pops. Somewhere above us, an air system hums. I became a cop because I thought I could make things safer, I hear myself say. Left when I realized the rules were written to protect the wrong people. Took this job because it was clean. Walls, cameras, clear perimeters. If I did my job, bad things stayed outside. And now, he asks. Now I'm sitting in front of the bad thing, and he wants me to help him build a bigger door, I say. He considers that. I won't deny my nature to make you feel better, he says. I am what I am. I enjoy suffering. I enjoy leverage. I enjoy watching humans show me what they really are when they think no one important is looking. But, and this is the part your grandmother's pastor never understood, I also enjoy order, rules, contracts. The door I'm building will have both. And if I say no, then the door takes longer, he says. Maybe someone else steps in, maybe no one. Maybe some overeager cult up top blows up half the mountain trying to finish Cade's work and tears a hole in the wrong way. You know what happens when amateurs handle explosives. People die, I say. People die anyway, he says. The question is whether their deaths are useful. My hand has drifted unconsciously toward my belt 3 times during this conversation, each time finding only the ghost of a holster. He notices. If you'd brought a gun, he says, and if you used it, The only thing it would do is ruin this shirt and trigger a lot of loud alarms. I'm not threatening you. I'm informing. Good to know, I say. He reaches into his pocket and places something on the table between us. It's small, smooth, black. Looks like a piece of polished stone shaped vaguely like a river pebble. What's that? A key, he says. Not metaphorically. I have built the frame of the door. All the rituals, all the machines, all the alignments. It sits deep under level 10. Right now it's dormant. This, he taps the stone, wakes it, not all the way, just enough to open the first inch. And you're just handing it to me, I say. I'm offering it, he says. If you take it, we start the process. Slowly, carefully. You come down again tomorrow. We go deeper. I show you the threshold. You see with your own eyes what you're signing up to guard or unleash. And if I don't? I flush it into a furnace, die in 3 days, and let whoever inherits this mess figure it out when the blueprints start whispering, he says. I like my plan better. The key sits there, innocent, between my plate and his wine glass. It doesn't glow. It doesn't hum. It just is. This is the part, he says quietly, where, in your stories, the devil tempts with wealth, with women, with revenge. I could. You have regrets, angers, people you'd like to see beg. I could lay it all out, push your buttons, make you think this was your idea. I'm not doing that. You know why? Because you're honest now, I say. Because I'm tired, he says. Because I've had centuries of tricked souls and screaming martyrs. Because this project is bigger than petty theater. I want someone who walks into this with eyes open. Someone who, if I vanish mid-stride, can tell the next auditor exactly why he did what he did. He looks at me for a long moment. I chose you because you're the sort of man who stands in a doorway and refuses to move even when both sides are screaming, he says. That's what this is. A doorway, 2 sides, a lot of screaming. I won't sweeten it, but I won't lie either. If you say yes, your life as you know it is over. If you say no, you get to go back to watching corridors on monitors until your pension kicks in or the wrong warhead finds this mountain. He nudges the stone closer with one fingertip. It slides silently over the wood. Take your time, he says. You have 3 days. After that, the choice is made for you. He stands, just like that, dinner apparently over. Enjoy the rest of your meal, he says. The elevator will answer to you as long as you're on this level. When you're ready to talk again, ask Ops for private channel 1. It'll find me. He leaves me alone in that room. Wine, food, a key to hell, and the knowledge that my boss stopped being human a long time ago. I don't touch the food. I do eventually touch the stone. Just with one fingertip. Just enough to feel that it's warm, like it's been sitting in a pocket close to skin for a long time. Nothing happens, no visions, no thunder, no voice in my head. But when I pull my hand back, there's a faint dark smudge on my finger, like soot that doesn't wipe off. I scrub it with my napkin. It fades slowly, reluctantly, as if it has opinions about leaving. On the elevator ride back up, I stare at my reflection in the polished steel. Same face, same scars, same tired eyes, head of security for a billionaire. Offered a promotion to something that doesn't have a job description. 3 days. I've made worse decisions on less information. The first thing I do after a demon offers me a promotion is go back to work. There's something comforting about cameras and door logs when your boss just admitted he's from hell. Pixels don't care about theology. They either change or they don't. Tessa looks up when I walk into Ops. You're back early, she says. Either it went great or you're unemployed. Still have a badge, I say, flashing it. Any fires while I was gone? Same old, she says. Someone microwaved fish on level 3. R&D pulled a double shift and tripped 3 minor alarms swapping out server racks. No one on the board tried to coup d'etat from their safe rooms. Good, I say. Pull up system integrity for the last 2 hours. I want to see if anything twitched while I was at dinner. She raises an eyebrow, but starts tapping. You expecting something? Always, I say. We scrub through logs, power usage, door access, environmental controls. Everything looks boring. Boring is good. My mind, unfortunately, is not boring. It's replaying every word Cade said downstairs, looping them with every odd thing I've seen in 5 years and never had a label for. Tessa leans back in her chair. So, she says casually. On a 1 to 10, how weird was it? 11, I say. On brand, she says. Did he yell? No. Threaten? Not exactly. Offer you money? Let it go, Tess, I say, sharper than I intend. She holds up her hands. Copy that, Chief. I rub my eyes. Sorry, long night. You want me to take the rest of the shift? No, I say. I want you to take a walk to level 3 and personally make sure nobody's messing with network hardware. Face to face, eyes on hands, no emails. That's very specific, she says. I'm very paranoid, I say. Humor me, she huffs a laugh. On it. When she's gone, I close my office door and sit. The stone, the key, is in my pocket, heavier than it should be. I can feel its presence the way you feel a phone you're trying not to look at. I pull up the feed for the lowest levels. Officially, level 9 is executive access. Level 10 does not exist. What the cameras show, when they show anything, is a handful of corridors, a couple of maintenance rooms, and the vault door entrance to Cade's suite. No lab, no construction site, no altar to the dark powers, just concrete and steel. I know there's more. You don't dig a mountain and stop 1 floor below your bedroom. Not if you're him. Ops, I say. Show me all cameras tagged with L10AW. Accessing, the AI says. A moment later, no such tag. Search all internal IDs for OU, I say. A list fills the corner of my screen. Auxiliary stairwells, auxiliary power rooms, auxiliary storage. All things I know, nothing that smells like secret door to hell. I open the maintenance schematics instead. Those don't lie as easily. Pipes, ducts, cable runs, they reveal the shape of spaces even when the spaces are technically redacted. There it is. A blank vertical shaft below level 10, 30 meters deep, marked reserved. No access hatches indicated, no listed purpose. Lines of power and cooling snake down beside it, then vanish into the white space like they're embarrassed. Whatever Cade's building, it's there. I sit back, fingers steepled like his without meaning to. 3 days. Say yes. Become part of whatever that is. Say no. Hope whatever he left behind doesn't wake itself up out of spite. The key in my pocket pulses once, not physically, just enough that I'm suddenly aware of its exact position, weight, temperature. I hear you, I mutter. You're very impressive for a rock. Someone knocks on my office door. Yeah? Morgan sticks his head in, hair damp, shirt rumpled. Chief, you got a minute? As long as it isn't about microwaved fish. He doesn't smile. That's my first warning. It's about this, he says, stepping in and handing me a printed photo. Hard copy. The kid is learning my paranoia. The image is a still from one of the external perimeter cameras. Night vision, grainy, fence, line, trees beyond, hilly terrain, and on the hill above the facility, just inside the range of the lens, a cluster of lights. Protest? I ask. Too small, he says. Zoomed this from max. Drones, maybe. Could be a camping group, except he points at the bottom corner where the system has overlaid a tag. RF interference detected. Same signature as that journalist's drone? I ask. Worse, he says. More spread, and it started about an hour after you went down to 10. Anyone sent to check? Surface Patrol did a sweep. Nothing. Whatever it was, it didn't stick around. Keep an eye on it, I say. Double the randomness in the exterior drone patrol patterns. If someone up there is watching us, I want them to get bored before we do. He nods, starts to leave, then hesitates. Chief? Yeah? You ever get the feeling we're the ones in the zoo? Every day, I say, get back to work. When he's gone, I stare at the photo another few seconds. Tiny lights above a rich man's bunker. Could be kids with beer. Could be a rival company trying to steal tech. Could be cultists who think Cade is the Messiah, or the Antichrist, or both. Or it could be someone, or something, from his side, sniffing around the outside of the door he's been building. The thought makes my skin crawl. I put the photo in the same drawer as the key. If any of this goes sideways, I want all the sins in one place. The next 48 hours are the most normal and the most tense of my life. I go through motions, briefings, patrol assignments, access reviews. I eat. I sleep in 4-hour chunks. I play dumb when Tessa asks again what happened at dinner. Cade doesn't summon me. He doesn't appear on any public feed. His calendar shows private work blocks stacked end to end. Ops confirms his biometric presence in the suite. Vital signs nominal. No visitors but automated service bots. On the second day, a memo comes down from admin about upcoming full system audits and a gentle reminder about NDA clauses. Whenever legal gets loud, I know something's brewing. On the third morning, at 07:00 Kwang, my tablet buzzes with a single word, tonight. No sender line, no signature. It doesn't need one. By then, the key has stopped feeling like an object. It feels like a question I'm carrying around. Every time I pass a secure door, my mind flashes on another one, 30 meters below the lowest place anyone here thinks exists. Around midday, I find myself standing at the chapel. Yeah, the chapel. Even billionaires who think they're devils hedge their bets. Cade had a small, tasteful, non-denominational worship space built on level 3 for staff wellness. Soft lighting, abstract stained glass, a couple of benches. No official symbols, no altar. Just a room where people can sit and pretend someone bigger than Cade is listening. No one's in there when I step inside. I sit on the back bench like I'm waiting for a show that's late. I know you don't do drop-ins, I say to the empty room. And frankly, I've met the other side and their customer service is terrible. But if there's anyone upstairs actually paying attention, now would be a great time for a sign. Nothing happens. No thunder, no whisper, just the hum of distant HVAC and my own stupid heartbeat. I snort. Figures, I say. You let him talk first. Helps, in a way. Confirms what I already knew. Whatever's going to happen down there, it won't be stopped by a miracle in a bunker chapel. By 21:30, I've arranged things so that if I disappear for a few hours, ops won't panic immediately. Tessa has full authority. Morgan's on a console, not out in the field. The surface patrol schedule has enough redundancy to catch anything short of an airstrike. At 21:50, I take the elevator down. The key is in my palm when the doors close. Warm again, or maybe that's just my hand. Level 10 feels more claustrophobic tonight. The corridor to the suite seems narrower, the air thicker. I knock once. Come in, Daniel, Cade says. Same dining room, same table. No food this time. Just water in 2 glasses and a folder in front of his chair. He looks worse. Color off, cheeks a little hollow, a tremor starting in his left hand he's trying very hard to hide. Clock's ticking, I say. It always is, he says. You brought it? I open my hand. The stone rests in my palm like it's always belonged there. Good, he says. Sit. I don't. I stay standing. Before we start, I say, I have questions. Of course you do, he says. That's why this is interesting. If I say yes, I say, and this merge works, and your bosses notice, who do they punish? You or the idiot who let you in? Both, he says, without hesitation. In different orders, depending on politics. And the door? They will want it stopped, he says, publicly. Privately, many will want to use it. We are not as unified as the sermons say. So I end up in the middle of a supernatural HR war, I say, with my head as the ball. In the worst case, yes, he says. In the better case, the door works, the benefits are undeniable, and enough stakeholders decide retroactively that it was always part of the plan. Do you hear yourself? I ask. You sound like a consultant selling a hostile takeover. I am a consultant selling a hostile takeover, he says, pleasantly. Of reality. You knew that the minute you took this job. You've been guarding the staging ground for 5 years. He nods toward my hand. And now you have to decide whether you're just the guy at the door or whether you want a say in where it opens. I think of the protest lights above the mountain, the glitching cameras, the whispers about Cade in investor circles, prophet, lunatic, savior, monster. I don't want this door opened at all, I say. Good, he says. That means if it is open, you'll be careful with it. That's not an answer, I say. It's the only one you're going to get, he says. I realize suddenly that he's not bargaining anymore. He's past that. He's in resignation. If I walk out now, I say, and pretend we never had this talk, you'll still know, he says. You'll still spend the rest of your life wondering who gets hold of what I left behind. Whether they're more careful than you would have been. They won't be. He pushes the folder across the table with his good hand. What's this? Contingency plans, he says. Ownership structures. Back doors in my own systems. Names of people on the surface who will line up the second they sniff a crack in this place's armor. If you say no, you can burn it. If you say yes, you'll need it. You trust me with this? I trust that you're too stubborn to sell it, he says, and too proud to let anyone else use it badly if you've decided to get involved. He's not wrong. That's the worst part. Fine, I say. Let's say I do it. I take the key. I help you wake up your door. I let you in. You let us in, he corrects. Plural. Us, I repeat. How much of me stays me? As much as you fight for, he says, and as much as I need. There are interfaces where the human vanishes early, screaming. There are ones where he barely notices the difference. Personality matters. Spine matters. You have one. Good odds. And if I lose? Then you die believing you tried, he says. And I get a slightly more competent body for however long it lasts. Either way, the story moves forward. There are worse fates. I think of all the bodies I've seen in all the bad hallways I've worked. Men who died for things that never made the news. Civilians whose names didn't make it into any report. Worse fates. Let me see it, I say. He raises an eyebrow. The door, I say. If you want me to guard a horror, I want eyes on it first. If I go into this blind, I'm just another idiot with a badge and a gun pretending his sacrifice meant something. He considers that, then nods once. Fair, he says. Follow me. He takes the stone from my hand, just for a moment. The moment his skin touches it, the room seems to tilt. Not visually, in my gut, like an elevator starting down. He walks to a section of wall that looks like every other. Smooth concrete, no seams. Presses the stone against it. Whispers a word I don't catch. The wall opens, not with sci-fi panels sliding aside. It just isn't there anymore. 1 second, solid. The next, a black rectangle big enough to walk through. No edges, no hinges, just an absence. Cold air spills out. Real cold, the kind that smells like old earth and metal that hasn't seen light in a very long time. After you, Chief, he says. I take 1 step toward the dark and feel every instinct I've ever had scream at once. This is the doorway you spend a career keeping people away from. This is the place in every building where the floor plan doesn't match, the room the blueprints lie about, the closet someone bricked up. This is also, somehow, still my job. The descent is short and too long at the same time. 3 steps past the threshold and the wall is back where it was, seamless behind us. No door, no outline, just the memory of an opening. My brain doesn't want to store properly. The only light comes from a strip along the floor, faint and white, leading forward like a runway in a blackout. Still time to turn around, I say. Seal this place. Pretend you died of something boring. If I wanted boring, I'd have stayed home, Cade says. His voice is a little thinner down here, like the air is stealing oxygen from it. Besides, we're past pretending. Once the foundations are laid, either you finish the building or you wait for someone else to squat in it. The corridor slopes gently down. No doors, no markings, just smooth concrete and that line of light, guiding us closer to what every part of me knows is a bad idea. My hand brushes the key in my pocket on reflex. It's warm again. Of course it is. Anyone else ever been down here? I ask. No one human, he says. A few of my kind in limited ways, observers. They think I'm building an energy project. They're not wrong. They just don't know which direction it flows. So they know you cheated. Some suspect, he says. They always suspected. This is me making their worst theories interesting. The corridor opens without warning into a chamber that doesn't belong in a bunker. It's not big, 20 meters across maybe, but the ceiling is high, lost in shadow. The walls curve, a rough circle. The floor is smooth rock, darker than the concrete above, polished by something older than human machines. In the center is the door. It's not a door in the way your brain wants to parse it. No hinges, no handle. Just a circle set into the far wall, 3 meters high, outlined by metal and something blacker than the surrounding stone. Inside the circle, the air seems thicker, like glass you can see through and not at the same time. Cables snake from the frame to banks of equipment against the walls, servers, generators, things I don't recognize. No symbols, no candles, no chanting cultists. Just a rich man's machines lined up against an absence. This is it, Cade says. Your new favorite fire hazard. Every instinct I have tells me to shoot it, break it, bury it, call in an airstrike. Every piece of professional training I have says, understand before you act. How open is it? I ask. A crack, he says, a hairline. Enough for information to seep. Hints, dreams, a few carefully shaped impulses. Nothing with teeth. Yet, I say. Yet, he agrees. The key wakes it the rest of the way. Opens the channel so both sides can see each other clearly. Talk, trade. Talk, trade. Handshake words for invasion. I walk a slow circle around the chamber, keeping a healthy distance from the frame. On one of the racks, I recognize components from our own network, repurposed hardware, redundancies on redundancies. On another, something older, a slab of stone with writing on it I can't read, wired into a junction box like it's just another battery. You know what my first job was? I ask. You've had much more interesting jobs than your first, he says. Mall security, I say. Grimy suburban place, cheap stores, bored kids. My boss told me, you are not a cop, you are not a hero, you are a deterrent. Your job is to make idiots pause before they steal. That's it. The best thing you can do here is nothing happens. And you're thinking, he says, that this is the opposite of that. I'm thinking, I say, that you built the most high-risk door possible in the most hidden place possible and hired a man whose whole life is, don't let bad things through doors to stand in front of it. Either you're crazier than I thought, or you knew at some point someone had to tell you no. He leans against one of the racks, breath a little shallow now. Being this far down is costing him. I knew I'd need someone who understands the word no, he says, but not the way you mean, not the human fantasy, where one righteous man stands in a doorway and the tide of history politely stops. I need someone to say no in the right places and yes in the ones that matter. That's not what this looks like, I say. This looks like yes written in 10-meter letters. He pushes off the rack and walks toward me, toward the door. As he gets closer, the air in front of the frame shimmers. Just a little, like heat over asphalt. Come closer, he says. I'm close enough. Daniel, he says, and there's weight in my name, like an order layered under the syllables. You asked to see it. You're not going to get a better chance. I won't drag you. But if you're going to make yourself the villain of this story in your own head, at least look the monster in the face first. That lands because he's right, and I hate that. I take 3 more steps and stop a meter from the frame. The air in the circle is wrong, not visibly. Light passes through. I can see the stone on the other side, the continuation of the wall. But my eyes don't like focusing on it. They keep wanting to slide off, like there's something there my brain is choosing not to render. Try this, he says. He lifts the stone key, holds it up, doesn't touch the frame. Just raises it until it's level, with the center of the circle. The temperature drops. My breath fogs once, hangs in the air, vanishes. Inside the circle, the wall blinks. That's the only word for it. For a heartbeat, the rock is something else, an expanse of dark, a depth with pinpricks of slow, deliberate orange light far away, like furnaces in the distance, like eyes. Then it's rock again. I swallow. How many on your side know this is here? Very few, he says. Information is leverage where I'm from, just like here. You don't tell everyone you found a new entrance until you've decided what you're charging at the door. And you think you get to set the price. I think if we build this right, he says, we get to decide what passes, who, how often, under what terms, treaties, contracts, not random leaks through cracks in the floor. We, I repeat. Yes. I look at the door, at him, at the machinery humming quietly like obedient beasts. I think about the kids camping on the hill with their mysterious RF signatures. I think about what happens if Cade drops dead in 3 days and some bright intern stumbles across this level with a phone and no idea what he's looking at. Then I think about something else. The look in his eyes when he talked about his own bosses. The flicker of something that looked a lot like fear. What happens if they come through first? I ask. Your people, the ones you're trying to get ahead of. He's quiet for a moment. Then this stops being a door, he says. It becomes a mouth, and you and everyone above us are in it. I've made a career out of weighing bad outcomes. This is the first time both options are so big they don't fit in my head. Okay, I say. Here's my offer. His eyebrows go up. Demons aren't used to hearing that sentence from the food side of the table. You give me full control of this room, I say. Access, hardware, logs, triggers, no subroutines I can't see. Every alarm feeds to me first. If anything comes through that circle without your explicit say-so or mine, this whole level goes under concrete, permanently. You don't have the explosives, he says. Not yet, I say. But you have a lot of things stored in this mountain that go boom if you put them in the wrong place. And you have engineers who can be told, we're building a failsafe, without knowing what it's for. You're asking me, he says slowly, to help you build a gun pointed at my own door. Yes, I say. Otherwise, someone else builds it pointed only one way. He studies me, really studies me, like he's trying to see the exact moment I'll flinch. And in exchange, he asks. In exchange, I say, I take your key, I stand this post. I help you keep your own side from swallowing this place in one gulp. I help you stop idiots up there from stumbling into something they don't understand. I don't promise to help you sell full disclosure to the world. But I promise that if someone's going to open that thing wider, it'll be with someone watching who remembers what closed doors are for. He laughs then, unexpected and sharp, and it echoes off the stone. You want to be hell's safety inspector, he says. I want to make sure when this goes wrong, I say, it goes wrong in a way we can maybe survive. Everything goes wrong eventually, he says. But I like the way you think. He offers me the key, not placing it, not sliding it, holding it out, palm up, like an actual choice. Up close, it doesn't look like much. A bit of black stone, smooth from being handled. No glowing runes, no screaming faces trapped inside. Just a piece of something that was never supposed to be in this world. My fingers close around it. It's not fire. It's not pain. It's pressure. A sense of something leaning on the inside of my skull, testing. Like standing too close to a bass speaker and feeling your bones vibrate. Images flash, not pictures, impressions. Heat, depth, structures that aren't buildings and aren't bodies and are somehow both. Voices like crowds heard from very far away, all speaking at once, all saying one thing. Door. I don't say yes, I don't say no. I just hold on and refuse to drop it. After a moment, the pressure recedes slightly, like whatever's on the other end has decided I'm at least interesting enough not to snap immediately. Kate exhales, a sound too close to relief. See, he says softly, you didn't break. Yet, I say, my voice sounds wrong in my own ears, like it's coming from a step to the left. He turns away, staggers once, catches himself on the rack. The tremor in his hand is worse now. Sweat beads at his temple. You should go back up, I say. You look like hell, he smirks. You have no idea, he says. I'll be fine, for tonight. He looks at the door, his door, one last time. There's something almost wistful in his face. If they call me back sooner than I'd like, he says quietly, remember what we talked about. Build your failsafe. Don't trust anyone who says they speak for heaven or hell more than they trust their own fear. Trust what then? I ask. He looks at me. Trust that sometimes, he says, the man in front of the door knows more about what should stay behind it than any throne above or below. We walk back in silence. At the threshold, the wall peels open and seals shut behind us like it was never there. By the time we reach the elevator, his steps are shaky. Next time, he says as the doors open, Come down with earplugs. Some of the things on my side can scream in colors you don't have names for. Next time, I say, maybe we don't invite them over at all. He smiles as the doors close on his face, and for the first time since I've known him, he looks small, a rich man in an expensive shirt who bit off more heaven and hell than he can chew. 3 days later, he's dead. Official cause, massive stroke in his sleep. We get the notification at 05:17. By 06, legal is issuing statements, PR is drafting obituaries, and the board is spinning. Ops goes on high alert without being told. Anytime the man whose name is on the mountain stops breathing, everyone expects someone to try to take a bite out of the rock. The paramedics never see level 10. The body is brought up to a secure cold room on level 2. I stand outside the door with Tessa while a company doctor and 2 lawyers go in. You knew this was coming, she says quietly. Everyone dies, I say. Not what I meant. I don't answer. There's a viewing hours later. Not public, of course. Just senior staff, a few chosen investors flown in by private jet, some people in expensive black who have government written all over their posture. His face in the coffin is peaceful, hands folded, pendant tucked out of sight under the shirt. He looks normal, Morgan whispers. That's the scary part, I mutter. The chapel fills. Words are said. A company chaplain talks about legacy and vision. No one mentions the word demon. No one mentions doors. After the service, one of the black suit government types corners me outside ops. Mr. Cole, she says, I'm Director Hayes. She flashes an ID I've never seen before, and don't doubt for a second. We'll be conducting a full review of Dr. Cade's private projects. We'll need your full cooperation. You'll get whatever my NDA lets me give you, I say. She smiles without humor. Your NDA is between you and a dead man, she says. Your government has other opinions. Behind her, far down the corridor, a man in a suit I recognize from photos, one of Cade's rivals, talks quietly with one of our board members. Their heads are close. Their eyes are bright. In my head, I see the folder on my desk, full of names just like theirs, flagged in his own handwriting as likely to exploit uncontrolled disclosures. The mountain feels smaller. The world bigger and more dangerous than it did a week ago. Director, I say carefully, how familiar are you with level 10? She tilts her head. We're aware of an executive residence and associated infrastructure, she says. We're aware that your boss likes secrets. That's why we're here. And if I told you there are things under 10 no one on your side is ready to open? Her eyes sharpen. Is that a threat, Mr. Cole? It's a safety briefing, I say. You don't send a SWAT team into a gas leak with a lit cigarette. She studies me a moment longer than is polite. We'll be in touch, she says, and walks away. Back in my office, I lock the door, open the drawer, and look at what I've been ignoring while everyone else plays funeral, the key, the folder, and now a small plastic access card slid under my door during the memorial, with a sticky note in Tessa's handwriting. If they start digging, call me first. Even my own people feel it. The sense that there's a line somewhere below our feet no one should cross without a plan to nuke the whole thing if it goes wrong. I pick up the key. It sits in my hand like it's been waiting. No visions this time. Just that now familiar weight and a quiet, unwanted familiarity, like I've been carrying it longer than the laws of time say I have. Okay, I say to the empty room. Here's how this is going to work. I open a new file, not on the main system, on a drive that never touches the network. Title, Halcyon, Door Policy. First line, I type, the door stays closed. Under that, in smaller text, Unless opening it prevents something worse from breaking through somewhere we can't see. Ugly sentence. Honest one. Then I start writing everything I know. Every word Cade said. Every reaction. Every glitch. I map names from his folder to faces I saw at the funeral. I sketch out the fail-safes he agreed to, and the ones I'm going to build whether anyone agrees or not. I'm not a theologian. I'm not a magician. I'm a man whose job has always been to stand between bad things and people who don't know they're coming. That hasn't changed. The bad thing just got bigger and started asking for contracts. By the time I'm done, hours later, my eyes burn and my hand aches. The mountain thrums gently around me, oblivious. Somewhere above, the world Cade wanted to enlighten goes on sleeping. I slide the key back into my pocket. It's colder now. Or maybe that's just me getting used to it. I step out into the corridor, badge on my chest, access keys at my belt, a very literal key in my hand. I work security for a genius tech billionaire in his underground bunker. He was a demon. Now he's a body in a box and a long list of problems with my name penciled in next to them. People will come. Corporations. Governments. Maybe one day something from the other side that isn't as patient as he was. They'll all want to see what he was building. They'll all think they're the first ones smart enough to handle it. When they get here, they'll find a door. And me, head of security. The man who opened that door just enough to see what was behind it and decided, for as long as he can stand here, that some truths are better enforced than revealed.